Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. How's it going? My name's T.S. and I write comics, and my new comic book, Hellion and Bash, #2 is about to go live on Kickstarter, like in 5 minutes. I am literally starting this live so I can launch the campaign live, and I just rolled out of bed, so if I seem sleepy, that is why. I apologize for the sleepiness. Oh, man. How's everybody doing today? Hope everyone's doing well. How's everyone feeling about Kickstarter comics and indie comics in general? That's not something I get to check in on a lot. I would love to hear some input. I would love to hear if anyone has any interest in the one that's running right now in my super raspy, sleepy voice. How do you feel about coffee? Mornings are for coffee and contemplation. How's everyone doing today? John, how you doing today, buddy? My name's T.S. and I write comics. Like Hellion and Bash #2, which is about to go live on Kickstarter, like right now. This is issue 1. It's all about who protects a sidekick from their superhero. When the superheroes don't step up, maybe the supervillains have to protect this kid. And it goes on from there. Issue 2 is super good. I'm so excited. Marcus Pedro killed it on the art. And I spent a lot of time setting up this Kickstarter, which I don't normally do. Normally I have a lot more help. And this time around it was all me. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm so excited for everyone to check it out. Let me know what you think of the trailer. I also cut that. If it sucks, somebody else did it. I didn't do it. Seems like about the same as you. Yeah, for sure. I just rolled out of bed. I got the kids fed. I got the animals walked and everything. And went through, double checked everything on the Kickstarters to make sure everything still looked good before I go live. I was podcasting late last night with K-Pop Junkie. Go check that out. She's awesome. I had a blast over on her channel. Just kind of one like last minute plug kind of thing, getting all the ads ready to go for this so we can advertise as the campaign goes along. Double checking everything, dotting the T's, crossing the I's, all that stuff. Gotta make sure you walk your cat. Gotta make sure you walk your cat. Gotta make sure you wash your cat. All that good stuff. I should probably do one last once over to see how many pre-saves we had for Hellion and Bash issue #2 over on Kickstarter. We had 52 followers, so hopefully all 52 of those followers are excited for me to hit that go live button. I'm going to do it here in a second. I got to make sure everybody who wanted to be here is here first. I got to check the YouTube chat as well, because I forget about that sometimes. There we go. How's everyone doing over in the YouTube chat? All right, the coffee is imbibed. I think it's time to hit that notify me or that launch button. Let's do it. Congratulations, the project is live with 31 days to go. Hellion and Bash issue 2 live on Kickstarter. Go to the link in my bio to go check it out. I am so excited for you all to see it. Oh man, let's see how it goes. Professional Entropy is here. Oh no, they're the big boss. If you don't know, my name's T.S. and I write comics, and I write a comic book called Hellion and Bash. Issue #2 is live on Kickstarter right now. My publisher, Professional Entropy, helped me get #2 going as soon as #1 got funded, which is super cool. Thanks for joining, bosses. I appreciate you and everything you do to help me make comic books. How's everybody else doing today? Anybody have any comic book questions? Anybody have any questions about Hellion and Bash? I would love to tell you more about how I found a publisher, looking for a new publisher, anything like that. If you have questions about the comic book, I would love to chat comics in general. Or coffee, since it's my lifeblood at the moment. Or hip hop. Bronson, one of my favorites. Leak Pixels, how you doing today, dude? Oh, they left. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. Last time Hellion and Bash was fun in under an hour. I know what's not going to happen this time around because I launched it way earlier in the morning than I did the other time. I think I launched it at noon last time. Easy to get funded at noon because everybody who was interested, was on their lunch, can go and back it and go check it out. Going live at like 9:50 a.m. Definitely not going to be as active over there, but I wanted to get a full day in. I wanted to be able to start streaming early on in the day before I went and did all the advertisers. I'm on a few more podcasts this week to talk about it as well, so just kind of wanted to get it going early. Ty, how's it going? Tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell your mom, tell everybody else you know. Hellion and Bash #2 is live on Kickstarter. Links in the bio. It's happening. It's all going down right now. Cliffy, how's it going, dude? Good morning. There's not enough coffee in the world. You don't think your West Coast fans woke up at 7 a.m. to make sure they're up for a launch? No, not on a Monday. I think all of them are either at work or at home sleeping because I believe today's a holiday of some sort. Here in the Midwest, we got something like 5 inches of snow, so even the people who aren't normally off might have a snow day today. I know my kids are home enjoying the weather, being snowed in. I do need to talk to you later for another comic thing. Okay, yeah, for sure. Hit me up. Or feel free to ask any questions here. I don't mind talking business and talking about comic books. Half of my audience is here to hear about comic book stuff. But if you want to talk about it privately, you can DM me. I would gladly help out any way I can. Or feel free to share any information. Yay, let's go. Heck yeah, man. Thank you for the excitement. I need it. It's so early in the morning. But yeah, gladly help talk about comic books. I got a few DMs the other day asking how to get a publisher specifically. Like, they wanted to kind of do what I was doing, working with smaller publishers. And the big thing that I can say is just start putting out your own comic books so you can get used to it, know what you're doing, know how to create one, get that consistency down, and then you can start pitching your projects, like your next issues or your next comic books that you want to launch. Then you can start pitching those to publishers. You can aim high just to get that practice down, but I started aiming for a lot of like the smaller publishers, and they were really receptive and really helpful, and I was able to start getting a lot of good feedback. If they didn't like it, they told me why they would take it, why they wouldn't. And I've been able to work with several really good publishers so far, so it's not impossible, for sure. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. I'm thinking of delegating and having a friend illustrate one of my projects. Cliff, listen, I know you do both, and I know that you love doing both. I will say, like, specifically as a writer, I do some illustrating on stuff. I illustrate some other people's stuff. I do covers and whatnot, and it really helps with my workflow. I'm a much better writer than I am an illustrator, but there's something magical, like beyond the logistical stuff of getting it done faster or whatever. There's something magical. There's alchemy that happens, that something special is created out of my writing with somebody else's art. I can hand them a script and they bring it to life in a way that neither one of us could have done separately or working solo. And I will say it's one of the coolest things in comic books is when I get pages in from somebody. So if you can consider that, I highly recommend it. It's so cool. I love it. I'm saying later because right now is for Hellion and Bash on Kickstarter. I appreciate you, man. That means a lot. But go ahead and feel free to ask questions. You know, a lot of people here that are going to join the live have already either checked out Hellion and Bash or heard my spiel. I'm here to talk about everything comics in general. And if you have questions about Hellion and Bash, I'd love to answer those too. It's live on Kickstarter right now. Issue 1 and 2 are available. If you want to catch up and you haven't read issue 1 yet, that's completely fine. If you like stories like Invincible or The Victories, this is the kind of story for you. Basically, who protects a sidekick from their superhero? When their superhero is abusing their sidekick, who's going to step in to save the kid? And when the superhero community fails at that, the supervillain community has to step up and do that. And they go on the run from all the superheroes. So if you like anything I said, go and check out Hellion and Bash. Now it's time to answer Ty's questions about comic books, darn it, because that's what I'm here for. I can talk about my comic books all day and whenever I want. I can only answer your questions when you ask them. So I will gladly do that. If you have questions about submitting to publishers, I've done a lot of that. I have gotten way more no's than yeses, so I'd be able to speak from a point of rejection a lot. But I have gotten a few yeses and a few how do you do's, so I can speak a little bit to it. I believe there's a publisher in the chat, Professional Entropy, great publisher, brand new. My flagship, or my title is their flagship title. Hellion and Bash is the first book that they're publishing, but they're going to be publishing Tokyo Fire, my other comic book, and who knows, maybe eventually they'll sign someone bigger, so they don't have to talk to me all the time. There he is. I was starting to feel a bit with John. What's going on, Mr. Midlife Crisis? Shout out to you. We need to talk D&D soon, because you backed Hellion and Bash issue number 1 at one of the higher tiers where you could book a D&D game with me in the world of Hellion and Bash, and I'm super excited to tell you that I'm starting to get everybody else on board, so we got to get that scheduled and get that going. I also have some artwork for some people who commissioned artwork on the last campaign, so I have some stuff to deliver to you. I'm technically a publisher as well. Yeah, I mean, like, the self-publishing game is real. Like, when you start putting out your own stuff, people act like there's a gigantic difference between going with the publisher or self-publishing. You're doing all of that work. You're hunting down distribution. You're trying to get it into stores, trying to get it out there. You had it printed. You are a publisher. The thing about working with publishers a little bit higher than your pay grade, you know, just like a little bit further up on that ladder, is it really brings that clout. It brings a sense of legitimacy to your project. It helps other people get involved. Money is the big one, right? Professional Entropy helped fund issue 2 of Hellion and Bash. They helped me get it off the ground. If it wasn't for them, we'd be waiting a lot longer for Hellion and Bash number 2. I would have had to wait until I sold enough copies of issue 1 to be able to pay Marcus to get the art going. Whereas when they stepped in, helped me fund issue 2 and got it going right away. Working with Invader Comics, another great smaller publisher, they're helping me get distribution into stores because they have deals with multiple local comic book shops. And so they can really help out. So there is a difference, but you're still a publisher. You're still doing it yourself when you self-publish. It's not like you're not doing all of that work, you know? I've never played, so I'm willing to give up my spot to someone really into it. No, Mr. Midlife Crisis, you paid money to play D&D with me. It's happening, okay? You can't back out now. The check cleared, all right? It's happening. We're playing D&D. So unless you want to auction it off to somebody else, it's your seat. You literally can do whatever you want with it. But I will say some of the people who joined up did join up to play with you specifically. So take that for what it's worth. I'm adding the stick figure me to the sequel to complain about the art. I love that. I should have purchased a cameo for my own comic book so I could be in there complaining about all of the superhero shenanigans that happen in that world. Yes, please. Oh, man. How's everyone doing today? Is everyone as tired as me? I'm like Garfield. I hate Mondays. I hate having to go back to work. I love talking comic books, and I'm super excited to launch Hellion and Bash, you know, have it go live and everything. But I miss the days when I could just sleep for like 20 hours, and I didn't need coffee to survive. How are my corporate bosses? How's Professional Entropy doing? I see you in the chat. Your suit's all pressed. Are you ready to write me another check so I can get Hellion and Bash issue 3 going? Oh no, I actually own an actual publishing company. We're just new to the comic side of things. Ty, that's awesome. Publish one of my comic books. Hit me up. What do you got? You got room for another one? What's your publishing company called? You haven't slept 20 hours in your whole life. Listen, when I was younger, I used to sleep a lot. Before I had kids, before I had multiple jobs, I sleep all the time. Would I stay up for 3 days straight? Sure. And then I'd go hibernate for a while. I lived off Hot Pockets and Mountain Dew, and I lived in a van. All right, that was mostly sleep was my life. When I woke up, I would skateboard for 10 or so hours straight, and then go back to sleep. It was wonderful. Now my knees hurt when I climb out of bed. Taylor Publishing Group. Soon I will have an imprint called Taylor Comics. Heck yeah, go check out Taylor Comics when they're ready to go, and check out Taylor Publishing Group. And bother them and bully them to sign me up and publish one of my comic books. I got lots of them. They can't all go to Professional Entropy. They only have so much room for T.S. Luther comics. Oh, I need to check the YouTube chat as well. Sorry, YouTube. The TikTok chat is just so fun to check out. They're so much more active. What's going on? First backer for $28. Thank you so much. You rock. I really appreciate you. Heck yeah. First one of the day. I need more coffee so I can show off all of my excitement, but that is so cool. I also am trying not to cry. If you see me cry, it's not because I'm super excited that someone wants to give me money for my comic book. It's because I have too much muscle near my eyes. I'm so strong that sometimes I flex too hard and it gets in my eyes. Jordan, what's going on, buddy? I will say we don't have a comic editor. Well, listen, I also edit comic books. If you've read a Mr. Fish comics, anything from Mr. Fish, I'm his main editor over there. I edit books like Green Zone, Alice Lost in Wonderland, Fish Tales, Caw, The Cro-Magnon. I do a lot of editing over there. I do a lot of freelance editing as well for comic books. So yeah, let's talk comics. But yeah, mainly a writer, but editing obviously is a great way to pay the bills, and I also do that. Plus, I have to edit my own comic books. Obviously, I can't really afford an editor on all of my books, so would gladly talk about that, Ty. Hook me up, man. I'm always down to work. Cat hair, that makes me cry. My cat used to make me cry, but then I started buying her really expensive cat food. And really expensive is obviously pushing it, but I buy her a fancy cat food that makes her less, I don't know, makes her more hypoallergenic or something. I don't know, but it stops my eyes from watering when she eats it, which is like magic. I'm gonna back now, but remember, we'll send cash if I drop the ball again. Mr. Midlife Crisis, I appreciate you. It is not a problem. The problem that we're gonna have is that you keep giving away all the stuff you buy from me. Which is awesome. It's really cool when you buy stuff for other people from my store and gift it out. I've gotten a lot of fans that way. It's so cool. But also, I want to play D&D with you. I want to make stuff for you, man. But you're rad. Thank you so much for your support, dude. We are up to 33 backers, $33 pledged, 2 backers with 31 days to go. I'm so excited for this, guys. Thank you so much. Should I put up like a live feed? I don't know if I can do that as we watch that number go up. Let's see. Let's see if I can get that going. See if I can capture the Kickstarter. That's the other comic book thing, getting you to take a look at our first comics outline. Yeah, I would gladly take a look at that. I was just looking over a couple different people's project. Bug Boy, a mutual on here, is launching his own comic. He had a few issues written. I was just reading that one last night. I've been reading stuff for Irrepressible Comics, just to help them kind of curate which project they're going to move on to next. I do that a lot, and that is more of a thing I do for fun and just to help out and give back. But I would gladly help you check out that outline. I love doing that. Why did I decide to put out 55 of me in a panel standing around? Cliff, that's a mistake, and your artist is going to be real mad at you for doing that. The crowd scenes are a lot on an artist, and the thing that you got to remember is you're the artist, so why are you doing that to yourself? You know, when I write a thing for Fish and I send him a script, I apologize when I write him a crowd scene. He does it because he's, you know, a consummate professional, but he's not super happy about it. But when Fish writes something for himself, you know, he still puts in a crowd scene because he's silly sometimes. But you can be smarter than a Fish, and you can not put in that crowd scene of 55 versions of yourself standing there. You have that ability. You have the technology to not do that. I don't know why you would do that, man. Except I do, because you had a really rad idea and that page is going to look awesome. Fish is the GOAT. I love working with Fish. Number one, it's because he works so fast and so good at what he does. But also because he's just a fun dude. I love working with him. Well, to be fair, the plot is a bunch of me figuring out what to do for the sequel. Yeah. See, it's important to the story, so I understand that. But also, come on, man. Like, be kind to yourself. Alright, let's see if I can... You are a star in your book, brother. He really is, man. Like, I love that idea. I don't have enough confidence to do something like that. I can't be in my own book. I write the book so I can write more interesting characters. I write in too many formats to write as fast as Fish. I can write as fast as Fish. I can't draw as fast as Fish. That's the difference. It's going to be more off the all than the one you have. Oh no, TS has learned how to use TikTok. I'm working on it. All right, I'm trying to learn how to do it. Let's see if I can run this. Alrighty. How's it going, Dog Lover 13? All right, let's check the live. Yep, we are at $33 with 2 backers with 31 days to go. Hellion and Bash #2, live on Kickstarter right now. Check that link in the bio. If you like superhero comics like Invincible or The Victories or anything like that, you're going to love Hellion and Bash. And if you haven't checked out issue #1, that's okay. You can get both. Melissa Student, yo, what's going on? Well, I write novels plus scripting, so writing that fast would be interesting for me. I mean, listen, one of the things I would say, moving over from prose that I used to write mostly to comic books, is comic books go a lot faster because you're not worrying so much on the moment-to-moment words that you're using, because it's more about describing the situation to an onlooker, because that's what you're doing. You're describing it to the artist, to the letterer, to all the people on your creative team, basically. And I can do that much faster than I can come up with an eloquent way to say it. I still try to make sure that the work looks good and that it's entertaining to read for the artist, for the letterer, but I will say it goes a lot faster than writing prose. It's a different skill set, and you got to learn, you know, obviously, as you're probably learning that right now. It's just a little bit of a different beast goes into it, but I will say it goes a little bit faster just because of the way that you write a script. Plus, you know, you're more like a director. You're describing such a specific situation, and you have so much more control over a page than you do with prose, right? You don't always control when that next page is gonna turn. You can control the chapters, but it's harder to control the page. And you have way more control over that, which for me makes it go a lot faster. And I love scripting comic books. It's a blast. Does anybody else have any questions about comic books, writing, Hellion and Bash #2, anything like that? Finding a publisher, working with publishers. We have a couple publishers in the chat, so if you have questions like that, you can bully Ty into publishing your next comic book as well. Code Names, how you doing, dude? Does anybody else have as much coffee as me? This is cup number 1, but I made an entire pot this morning, and I think I'm gonna go through it real quick. K Dot, how you doing today? One of the things I will say with writing comic books is that I'm always surprised when people want to see the script, and it makes sense now because people want to learn how to write comics. They kind of want to see how the sausage is made. They want to see the process. That's why I started selling the scripts as well. I try to keep it really cheap just so people can kind of learn from it. I sell them digitally as well. But because a lot of people would ask me, well, what format do you use? Because everyone writes comic books differently. There's no one single format when like it comes to like movie scripts, right? Everyone has to write it that one same way if you want to submit it anywhere. There's like a standard. There's no standard for comic book scripts. So I started selling mine just so people could see how I do it, because I get asked a lot. I kind of copied Matt Fraction's style of writing comic books. That's where I learned how to write them, is seeing his scripts. But it's been really helpful for me to see other people's scripts as I can learn what works best for me. So I'm happy to share those as well. Where did you draw inspiration for Hellion and Bash from? Well, there books like Invincible, definitely, but The Victories from Michael Avon Oeming was a big one, where I could see that you could do more of an adult-oriented story with superheroes as the backdrop without being gratuitously violent all the time. And dark didn't just mean gritty and everything's black and everyone dies. It's not about that. It's about telling more adult-oriented stories with heavier subject matter, with characters like Spider-Man and stuff like that. So I drew a lot of inspiration from that. And then obviously Batman and Robin, Green Arrow and Speedy, the ill-fated Spider-Man and Alpha, all those characters who had sidekicks. And as a dad, asking that question is like, hey, should we be doing this? Should you have a child soldier out on the streets with you fighting crime, putting them in harm's way? And I would never ask that question with Batman, but if I'm going to write my own story and have my own characters, because I'm not allowed to write Batman, I can ask that question. I really wanted to do that. And growing up with people who didn't have someone looking out for them, or there was powers that be and people that should have been looking out for them and helping the children who didn't, I wanted to address that with this story. Obviously I couldn't fix that in real life. I was just a kid myself, but I could write a story and make people ask that question: is what does it really mean to be a hero, and who should be protecting these kids? I gave up coffee close to 20 years ago. Oh man, good for you. I wish I could. I need to drink less of it, so because like your body gets addicted to it, obviously. But right now, it is the only thing that is keeping me up and running. Love how this became Publish Us. Listen, that's always what it is. Listen, you're gonna find this working in comic books. It's always Publish Us. That's everything I do, is to work with more publishers, to talk to bigger gatekeepers, so they will publish the stuff, because it's so hard to get people's attention, and so many people don't take indie comics seriously. They see indie, they think amateur, and that's not the case. This is a professional comic. A lot of my friends who make indie comic books, also professional comic books, because we make money, we sell them for money, it costs money to make them. But unless you have that publisher tag, so many people don't take you seriously, because people look to publishers to be curators of sorts, to say, hey, we think this is good and we are willing to put our money where our mouth is. So it is Publish Us. That's a large part of the job day to day, is convincing people to take you seriously. I've already dug into the script for Hellion and Bash. It helps take away some of the intimidation. I hope so. I hope you read anything that I do and go, well, I could do that. I hope that that's what you take away from it, because that was a big point of inspiration for me. There's a lot of comic books that I love, like I said, Invincible, Victories. There's a lot of comic books that I don't love, that I don't talk about on here, that inspired me in that other way, for me going, well, I can make something better than that. And I don't talk about those because those people worked really, really hard, and I'm not one to crap on anybody else's work. But I will say, just as big of an inspiration as those ones are the ones that I didn't like, are the comic books I'm like, well, this sucks. I could do something better than this. So if you take anything away from my script, it's, well, this doesn't seem so hard. Go for it, dude. You got this. Yeah, that's the first thing I realized. Unlike TV and film, no standard script layout. Not a single standard point to be seen. And I write differently for every artist I work with. I just started working with an artist, and she prefers more of a Marvel layout. So it was like trying to take away some of that description and leave more openness so she can have more fun with the script. And that's just how it goes. I write differently for everybody, but this is the main way I try to do it. On the idea of writing a story, I overthink a bit. That's fair, and you can overthink it, but that's what editing's for. Going back to the script afterwards, you can overthink it. I write in a very similar way to Stephen King. That's another person I learned how to write from. Is you go back and first you're trying to uncover that story, so you just write everything that comes to your mind. Just get it out on the page, get it out of your head and out there. And then go back and start overthinking it. That's when you find the theme. That's when you fix the mistakes. That's when you find the heart of it. But first, get as much of it out of your head onto the paper. Overthinking is for the editing process. I had a caffeine-fueled anxiety attack and gave it up. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm glad that it helped you give it up. My anxiety exists on both, so I completely understand. But I actually hear that a lot when it comes to anxiety, and obviously caffeine is a stimulant, so it's not going to help that, but I'm glad you found a solution there. Some people won't take comics seriously, period. That's very true. There's a lot of people that they hear comic books, they think kids. And to be fair, it really hasn't been for kids, at least mainstream comics, for a long time. That's why you have like all ages brands, and Scholastic does well. I think of like the Babysitters Club. It's kind of reversed. It's now closer to books. When you think of a book, it's for everybody until you start pinpointing the individual things. Comic books are a lot like that now. Unless it says it's for kids, it usually isn't. And it's really interesting to see that switch. Yeah, most indies aren't taken seriously, unfortunately. It's true. I didn't mean it like that as far as I could do it. Oh, I know what you meant, though, Mr. Midlife Crisis, but I hope you do take it like that. I hope you see it, and it takes away some of the mystique. That's one of the reasons why I sell the scripts, is I want you to see what goes into it, because if I can do anything, it's to inspire you. Whether that's because you like the book, or it's because you think you can do better. I take no offense either way, but I hope you see that it's possible. I hope you see that it's not this impossible task. That you can do a 22-page comic book script and hand it to an artist and get it done. I know you can. I've seen some of the stories you come up with, and plus you crush most of the things you ever touch. I don't see all the stuff that you're bad at, because you probably don't show that off on TikTok, but the amount of skills that you demonstrate, I bet you could write a really cool story, because it is a skill. It's not just a talent. People really think a lot of times that it's just something, oh, you're a storyteller or you're not. And like any other thing that people do professionally, it's just a skill that can be studied and honed and crafted and improved upon. Mine is like a cross between writing and storyboarding most of the time. A lot of people who do cartooning, people who draw and write at the same time for their projects, a lot of them are that. Like, I've seen so many people who do that, who skip the outlining or the writing process and go right into thumbnails, and then they go back and add dialogue, like Miyazaki style. And I know that works for a lot of people. Fish does that a lot. Fish is a cartoonist a lot of times until he started working with people like me. And that's his process. He kind of skips over the general outlining process, jumps right into thumbnails. Stephen King's book on writing is my self-help book for life, dude. Same. It's my favorite book of all time, probably. If not the favorite, it's one of, and top 5 easily. I love that book so much. Changed my life. Mr. Midlife Crisis loves Stephen King's book. Yeah, man. I really do. Victoria, hey man, how's it going? NJJ Studio Art, thank you so much for sharing it. And Victoria, thank you so much for the gifts. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. That means a ton. Speaking of gifts, I guess I should go and check out what the Kickstarter's at. Let me refresh it. Oh, heck yeah. Thank you so much for everyone who supported. We're at $111 out of our $3,000 goal. 4 backers already with 31 days to go. Oh, man, you're all the best. Thank you so much. Of course, man, always. Victoria, it means everything. Thank you so much. I'm not crying, you're crying. I just have dust in both of my eyes. Don't worry about it. You guys all rock. And I hope, like, again, I take no offense to any of this stuff. I hope you do make your own comic books. I hope you see that it's possible. I like to think that I'm good at it, and the people who publish me and pay me money to buy my comic books and do that stuff, I hope they think that I'm good at it. But that does not mean that it's an impossible thing to do. And if you have this inclination in your head that you could do it, you probably could. Go and try. Comic books are awesome. More voices need to be in it. And because of all of the gatekeeping, and because so many people need that curation and publishers to get behind you to take it seriously, there's a lot of stories that don't get told. So if you see anything from us indie comic people who are working with smaller publishers or publishing ourselves, and you see us pop up on here on like TikTok and stuff, take that as a sign to go and tell your story and to make these comic books. I won't lie to you and tell you that it's easy or cheap. It's neither. It's time consuming and exhausting. But if you can get something out there that's tangible into comics, comic books are such a niche thing. It's such a niche medium. There's so few comic book fans in comparison to like anything else, TV, movie, whatever. That if you can find your audience, you can find people that love your stuff. And that's one of the things that's really special to me is like I only have a few fans, and you're all amazing, and I appreciate you so much. And it's magic. So you should definitely be making your own comic books. It's so cool. Twitter is huge for getting backers too. I'll have to get over there. I'll have to post some stuff. I don't have a lot of stuff over on Twitter. I use Blue Sky a lot. I'm on Instagram. I was getting some meta ads going for this campaign, but I've been practicing and writing my comic book because of you, dude. Oh, that means a ton. Thank you so much. I hope you do. I can't wait to see what you got going on. I know you were talking about doing some of the art last time. I'm so excited to see it. Sounds weird, but I come to your lives and immediately feel good. You got that thing. Mr. Midlife Crisis, thank you so much. That's why I come to your lives, dude. That's why I love getting on here. I love talking about books. I love making stuff. I love talking to people who want to make stuff. I'm not a big social media guy, especially before TikTok. I didn't post like anywhere. And I got on here just to sell my comic books and to tell people about them. And what I found was a community, and I found that much like when I go out with my friends as an introvert, I don't want to do it. You got to talk me into it. But once I'm out there, I have a good time, and I love talking to you guys about this stuff. And I love answering questions. And yes, I like yapping about my comic books too. But when I come on here, again, I dread it until I go live, and then people pop up into the chat, and you're all awesome and super kind, and it makes me want to do it more than I ever thought I ever would. So it makes me feel good, and I appreciate you. Me too, dude. He's just so nice. Whose live are you going to and they're mean? When you take your time, money, and your effort to come and support a creator, who's on here being like, give me more money, you're all smelly. Like who are you hanging out with that are jerks when you come into their live? You're also the only guy I've ever had a signed comic book from, and it's amazing. I sign everything if you want it. I didn't for a little while because I was afraid people didn't want it, and then I got like complaints. People got mad at me for not signing them, and I was like, I'll sign it. I just didn't think like my signature's not worth anything, right? And I'm not a big signature guy when it comes to other people's stuff, but I will sign anything that you want. You're all awesome, and if you want my signature, you can have it because I never thought anybody would want it, but I will gladly sign. I've got some helpful stuff to send you. I'll message you on here. Keep up the good work. I appreciate you, NJJ. Definitely message me. I can't wait to talk to you about it. Thank you so much, dude. It's worth a big thing to me, dude. Well, thank you. I'm glad to. I love signing it. It's something that I didn't know I had to do when I first started making comic books. I had to make a new signature because my my government name isn't T.S. Luther, and so my handwriting is terrible. So I had to create a new signature and learn how to do that and do it fast so I could sign all of the comic books before I send them out. I can double that number. Cliffy also signs all of his stuff. Let's check the live backers. We are up to 5 backers, $133. Thank you so much. $133 out of a $3,000 goal. You're all the best. We have 31 days to go. I hope I can keep up this momentum. I'm going to try to go live as much as possible throughout the campaign. Partly because I have something to talk about this time around with this. Sometimes when I go live, I don't have any plan, and I just hope people ask me questions. Now I have something to show for and to talk about as I go live, so I'm going to try to do it just to keep me honest. But also because, got to keep sharing the stuff and keep that that morale going. It's not just for you, it's for me too. I have to stay excited about the book. It's really easy to start feeling down and dejected when it comes to making your own stuff, because like I've talked about on here, you don't get a lot of mean comments when you're writing comic books as much as people think you do. You don't get a lot of that hate. You're not popular enough. What you get mostly is apathy. You get nothing. People just don't care that you make it. So going live and seeing people in the chat means a ton to me, and I'm going to try to keep that going as much as possible, because it makes sure that I have the energy and the optimism to write the next issue. I have to go do 20 things at once. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Mr. Midlife Crisis. I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for stopping by. You're the best, man. According to the government, T.S. Luther never existed. Dang right. Don't look at my non-existent passport. It's fine. Ignore the man behind the green curtain. It almost is time, I think, for more coffee. Does anybody have any other questions about writing comic books, creating comics, finding a publisher, anything like that? If there's something else you want to talk about, I am a man of few talents but many interests. I love Power Rangers and Digimon and Gundam and Spider-Man. I'm just looking around my room. I do have something cool to show off real quick. This is my signed copy of Superior Spider-Man #1, signed by Dan Slott. We talk about signatures. I'm not a big signature guy, but this was offered to me basically for free. I don't know how much it's worth, but I love Dan Slott's Superior Spider-Man run. I love Spider-Man in general. That's like the one like signature thing I have. I do have a signed Invincible #3, signed by Robert Kirkman. That's another like treasure thing. That's more treasured because it was a gift from a friend of mine. So I do have some signatures, but I don't go anywhere. I have to start going out to cons soon. I'm going to Great Lakes Comic-Con next weekend. I'm not tabling because it was too late when I found out about it. But I am going to be walking around selling books out of my backpack and just meeting more people. And hopefully getting some stuff signed. They got some of the minds behind TMNT over there. Kevin Eastman's going to be there. So maybe I'll get something signed for my son because he's a big TMNT fan as well. I have Comic-Con coming up this Saturday, and I'm so excited. Oh, that's awesome. Which Comic-Con? I've been trying to go to more, like just in general. Like I got a whole list from Sean Peacock. Shout out to All Sorrows and Danger Boy. Awesome comic that goes live tomorrow on Kickstarter. But he gave me a whole list of all the Michigan cons I need to be going to. So starting out with Great Lakes Comic-Con. But I'm going to be trying to get to more just in general. Professional Entropy, the publisher of Hellion and Bash, keeps threatening to send me to like Comics Pro and stuff on the West Coast. And so I'm trying to get used to going to Comic-Cons, period, and any convention. When like I don't even leave my house, let alone go to conventions. So I'm just trying to get used to it. Alaska Comic-Con, it's smaller than other ones, but I'm so excited. It's going to be fun. Well, I mean, listen, there's like 40 people in Alaska, so of course it's going to be smaller, but that sounds rad. I forgot that you're in Alaska, so probably won't make it up to that one anytime soon, but I would love to. Are you going to see David Harper of the Off-Panel Podcast and Sketched, if he's there? Get a signature for me. I love that podcast and love everything Sketched, and if you can tell him about my comic books, that'd be awesome. But it's Alaska so far away. I love Alaska. My shop teacher would go on and on about Alaska. When he retired, he was going to move there to hunt bear or something. So that's always the one I would hear about. I dropped money at your table. I appreciate you. I gotta get the money for the table, and I gotta get ahead of it. That was the thing with Great Lakes, is when I found out about it, I was like, okay, let's go buy a table, and it was already sold out. There's no room. I had to message the con to find out if I could get a ticket this late, which I could, but I couldn't get a table. So I'm just gonna go, and I'm gonna try to piggyback all of my friends who already have tables there and go, hey, can I sit by you? So I don't have to walk around the whole time. Also, if there's anybody local here in Michigan who wants to go with me to the Comic-Cons, I don't have to go by myself, please hit me up. I would love to make friends if you're going to be there, if you're going to check that out. Let's meet up, let's talk, let's carpool. The weather's so bad, let's make a convoy with our snow tires and our chains, just in case. Dang, yeah, it's like $250 for a table at ours. That's not that bad though. That's not bad by comparison. Like the table I just was getting ready to reserve for Motor City Comic Con was about $400, and I talked to a friend who's tabling in San Diego, and it was 5,000. So $250, that's not bad at all, especially when it's going to be one of the larger Comic Cons for that area, right? There's not a ton of competition. A lot of people are going to go to that. So like kind of worth it. $250 is a lot of money, like for a person, not a lot of money in comparison to tabling at other places. TS, what is your strategy for tabling? Psh, brother, I have no idea. Never done it. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna hope for the best. That's my strategy. What I'm gonna do is I have a fold-up table because I don't think they provide it at most of the ones that I've signed up for, and I'm going to sit there with my books on display, and I'm going to say, please check this out. I'm probably going to give away too many. Don't tell my publisher. I'm going to find anybody who's working in the business, give them a copy. Anybody who's interested, I'm probably going to, sell them a copy, and try not to carnival bark too much because I get too excited when I do that and scare people away with the beard. But mostly I'm going to go to try to have a good time and meet more people who might be interested in the comics. Wow, 5K. Dude, that's what I said. I was talking to the co-creator of Tokyo Fire, another comic book that I published through Professional Entropy right here. Sky Hawkins, my co-creator. She's going to a lot of cons over on the West Coast. She's out of California. And when we start talking prices, because I was like, hey, can I help, get you to places? And she's like, totally. Let's get a GoFundMe going because I don't have $5,000 to table for us. The numbers got real ridiculous real quick. Russo, that's on the cheaper side. Exactly. It really is. It's so cheap by comparison. Yeah, it gets packed. It's pretty much everyone in the next 3 towns that come. How many towns are even in Alaska? There's only like 5, right? Like, of course everyone's going to go. What's up, Garnet? How you doing, dude? I like local cons as the table is cheap or comped. Totally. That's the other thing is I've been reaching out to cons to see if I can host a panel, help set up, anything like that to get the cost of the table down, if not free. I've been reaching out to a lot of libraries to see if I can table there, free comic book day events. I've also been trying to reach out to more stores, not just to direct market, which is definitely part of it, but to say, hey, I got a local comic. Obviously, I'm not going to bring in a ton of people, but can I still set up a table with signed copies, sell a few, help around the store if I can, anything like that. I've been also reaching out to a lot of comic book shops to see if I can work part-time. Not necessarily because I need it, but more because I want to talk to more comic book people. I am so often cooped up in my room. I would love to meet more people in the industry, even if you're just a fan who's there to buy comic books. And part of that is just networking and getting out. So trying to do all of that stuff. I hope you're having a great morning, Garnet. So far, it's been awesome. I get to talk to all of you awesome people here on TikTok and YouTube. And let me go check the Kickstarter right now, Hellion and Bash #2. If you like indie comic books in general, superhero comics, books like Invincible or The Victories, Hellion and Bash is the book for you. We are sitting at 8 backers with $292 out of a $3,000 goal with 31 days to go. That is so cool. Thank you so much, everybody who's helped me do this so far. You're the best. Question for you, dude. I want to do a black and white comics. Any advice? Yeah, don't add color. That's great advice. Black and white, I would say, so if you're going to go black and white and you intend for it to be black and white forever, and not color it, if not color it for a long time, try to utilize that medium as best as possible. So mid-tones, gray tones, screen tones, so like the dots you see, cross-hatching, all of the different techniques you can use to provide more depth to the artwork that you're not going to get from a really good coloring pass. Coloring paths are great for adding shadows and depth of field to your comic, so you have to utilize different techniques for black and white. But if you know it's going to be black and white forever, if you're using things like screen tones, halftones, cross-hatching ahead of time, you can make sure your book is going to be awesome just in the black and white phase. And all of those still work when it goes to color. So just keep in mind, look at other black and white comic books that didn't go color right away. There's classics like the classic TMNT stuff, but there's current run comic books. You look at like Walking Dead, right? Walking Dead was mostly black and white before they went back and remastered it with color. So just look at your contemporaries, look at other black and white comic books to get a feel for what you want to do, and utilize as much technique as possible for adding depth. Just pledge. I did it correctly this time, so you don't yell at me. Garnet, I only yelled at you because I felt bad because you pledged without getting a reward. And I sent you some anyways because I appreciated all your support. And I wanted you to get stuff. I don't want something for nothing. I want to make sure you get the comic book. I mean, I appreciate the money, but I'm here to get the word out about Hellion and Bash. Thank you so much for your support, dude, though. It means a ton. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And so we're sitting at 8 backers, 292 out of a $3,000 goal with 31 days to go. Man, it's going to be a long 31 days, I think. But I'm super excited. Thank you so much, guys. We're already up to almost what issue 1 got funded with. So thank you so much. Thank you, Vittoria. I love the questions. Keep them coming if you have anything else that you want to know about that. What's the writing process looking like? I know you were mostly a writer before. How's that transitioning to you writing the script for your book that you're doing yourself? Are you doing the exact same way? Are you writing a little bit less because you already know what you want to draw on the page? How's that transition been for you? For sure, for sure. Thank you, Garnet. You're the best. Tell Nix too that the campaign is live. It's tricky. I'm ending up writing it more like a screenplay. Listen, though, that's how I write. Obviously, if you've seen any of my scripts or anything like that, that's how I write my stuff because it is like a screenplay. You're like directing this book. You're getting ready to hand it off to an artist. In your case, you still are the artist. But having that direction, writing what's going to happen in that panel, which moves into this, which has this dialogue, I think is really powerful and helps me get my point across. And I think it's much easier, honestly, than writing prose because you don't have to deal with making sure it sounds good on the way to creating the story. With prose, every word counts, and you need to make sure that you're not losing interest there. But when you're writing a screenplay like that, you're getting ready to adapt it onto the final page. And that allows you some general freedom to make mistakes and not be as specific and to move along a lot faster. And I really enjoy that part. Probably because of all the coffee that I drink. I have too much caffeine running through me. Very true. There's a huge difference. There totally is, and it still totally works though. And I think being better at the prose side of it helps me figure out how I want to describe it well to somebody else. I think it definitely helps with the artists that I work with, being able to keep them entertained as I write the script to hand to them. But in the end, it doesn't matter as much to the general audience who receives the comic book what my script looked like and the words that I used, as long as the artist did their part, and they always do. I work with some amazing people. And if you're doing it yourself, you have more creative control over that part anyway, so you don't have to stress as much. I found it to be a lot less stressful. When I was writing prose stories, I did a lot of short stories, doing like the magazine circuit, and so much of the stress was like, I have a good story, cool things happen in it, people enjoy the plot and the dialogue, but the words that I'm using are not eloquent enough. They are not entertaining enough to read word to word on the page. I am not a wordsmith in that way. I am not a poet. And that was the part that I would get bogged down in. And oftentimes, I think it stopped me from getting more work on the prose side of things. Whereas with the comic books, it didn't really matter as long as my dialogue was good, as long as I gave the artist a good enough description to create a masterful panel. It was good enough, and now people enjoy my writing much more than when I was writing short stories and novels. Still have them. I'd still like to work on it, but I have found that I work much better in this medium than I do in prose. TS, are your prose works available? Not to you, Chrisix. They're not under TS Luther, so I don't know if you'll ever find them. If I get them republished, I was in a few magazines and stuff. Maybe I'll share them. But I definitely don't think they're as good as my current writing, and that's always part of it, right? You're always improving, so it's hard for me to recommend some of my earlier stuff, especially before I found my voice in comics, because I think my comics are the best things that I've ever written. So I don't want to push you towards that stuff because I don't want you to run away going, this sucks. But I'm working on a few things now that are much better. I have a novel that's coming out soon, and I just did a children's book, which is similar to comic books because it's illustrated, but I am doing more stuff like that, so maybe I can share some stuff on that front soon. Are you writing on paper or using software combo? Yeah, Victoria, how are you writing your stuff? Gotta head out, need to get some breakfast and coffee. Thank you for stopping by, Garnet. You're the best. Have a good one. was previously using my typewriter, which was a happy medium, but now I'm stuck with paper. I love writing on a typewriter. One of my best friends, John, now almost a decade ago, got me a mechanical keyboard because I wanted to write on a typewriter, but that was too cumbersome and I make too many mistakes for it to be efficient at all. So he bought me a mechanical keyboard with the loudest clickety-clack that you could. I don't remember which type of typing heads they are, if they were the brown hats or the red hats, something like that. And it replicates that feel of typing on a typewriter, but I can write on a word processor and still, have all the benefits of writing digitally, but I get that mechanical keyboard feel. Is a great medium. I also do, I write a lot in like moleskin journals. That's where I come up with a lot of my ideas and I jot them down just because it comes out faster and I'm not always sitting at my computer. That's such a great idea. I have a gaming keyboard that I never thought to use for that. You should like, and get like the clicketiest, clackiest one. You're gonna piss off neighbors, partners, anybody else you live with because they are loud, but it feels great. And again, it makes me feel like the old timey typewriter, and that tactile feel helps me, keep everything going and not get bored. It's almost like a fidget tool at that point. It's very clicky clacky. Yeah, my favorite is my wife got really like she hated it at the beginning. Now she's gotten used to it. Now it's like ASMR for her. We do rain sounds like so when we go to sleep we have like white noise that's rain sounds. So you have rain sounds going and the clickety clack kind of gets drowned out by that. But before it was way too loud. It was an issue and I had to write from a different room. Now being together for over a decade, like she's gotten used to it and we're okay. Get him some white noise, Vittoria. Get him some white noise, some rain sounds, some whale sounds. People love the whale sounds. I use the Muse app on iPad to organize the story for ideation. I've never used the Muse app. That's pretty cool. I'll have to look into it. I use OneNote for organization. So it's like I have like a OneNote folder with like characters and a OneNote folder with scripts, and they're linked together. And I use that a lot for like D&D and TTRPGs and balance. And it works really well for that. And so I transitioned to using it for a lot of my comic book stuff. And I enjoy it, and it's more fun to do that way. And if you're doing a lot of world building, obviously any sort of organization is super helpful, just so you have all of those additional tools that aren't like in your scripts, all of the additional world building handy and ready to answer questions. Working with an artist, that's the thing. When you're writing prose, you need to remember stuff, but a lot of that's up in your head, right? If you're writing fantasy, you know which races are there and what magic system you have. But the second you're working with an artist and you need to collaborate with somebody, they need to know all that stuff too. They need answers to questions. And the things I get most are questions I never thought I would need to answer, and I really enjoy answering them. Is like, okay, so you have this hoverboard. People have hoverboards in this world. How does it hover? What is the mechanism? How is it powered? How high can they hover? And that goes into how they design the hoverboards and how they draw it and anything like that. So any sort of program that allows you to keep track of all those little details when you answer a question, to put them in there, because when you start working with artists, they want to know that stuff, which is really fascinating. I love answering them, but you do have to be ready to give that information. Sometimes I come up with it on the spot, but I like having it at least available. I used to use Word Anvil for some of my prose work, but it's expensive and cumbersome. So many of them are. I used is it Pro Duo? What is there's a couple of different word processors that I've used over the years. WordPerfect I used for a little while because my lawyer used WordPerfect. So when I was sending contracts over for The Digger and for Hellion and Bash, she was sending me back WordPerfect documents, so to make sure it all stayed perfect. And I really liked it, but I was just used to Microsoft Word, so I use like an older version of Microsoft Word for everything. I'll have to check out Word Anvil though. Alright, let me go back. Check this out. Heck yeah, we're sitting at 8 backers for $292 out of a $3,000 goal with 31 days to go. Hellion and Bash #2 live on Kickstarter right now with that link in the bio. If you like superhero comics like Invincible or The Victories, you're going to love Hellion and Bash. Issue #2 is what the Kickstarter's for, but don't worry. If you missed out on issue #1, you can do that too. You can get issue #1 there, so don't worry. If you haven't read it yet, you can catch up. We have so many different catch-up tiers if you want to catch up digitally or physically. And if you like stories like Batman and Robin, anything like that, you're going to dig it. So please go and check it out. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell that weird guy at your comic book shop he might like it. And apologize for calling him that weird guy at your comic book shop. And a great apology gift is Hellion and Bash #2. Same thing, Valentine's Day just passed. We sell a collector's combo, which comes with 2 physical copies and a digital backup. It's also great for a Valentine. If you forgot to get your girl some flowers, it's okay. Get her a copy of Hellion and Bash #2. I don't know if anyone has done that. If you do it, please let me know, and let me know if it worked. I'd appreciate that. My wife does not like when I gift her Hellion and Bash #2. She loves comic books. She loves when I buy her other comic books. But she doesn't appreciate when I hand her a copy of Hellion and Bash #2. I'm about to tell my boyfriend to give me that. Do it. Tell him you need the big bundle. That's the tier at the bottom. The big bundle comes with everything Hellion and Bash, as well as all of the other T.S. Luthor comics you can ask for. The really big bundle is $50. It's named the really big bundle because I was running out of names. It includes everything from the physical library. So Tokyo Fire, Hellion and Bash #1, Hellion and Bash #2. All of the scripts, all the digital backups for all that stuff, a digital copy of my first comic book growing up. It comes with stickers of Yeti Man and Pterodactyl, 2 characters from the book. It comes with 2 art prints from the first Kickstarter of Hellion and Gargoyle, as well as Yeti Man. I think I have copies of them right over here. This is the this is the Hellion and Gargoyle art print, and then I got a copy of the Yeti Man art print right here. And it also gets you a shout out on the thank you page, which is really cool. So you're like actually in the book. So tell him to get you the really big bundle, because it's Valentine's Day. And does he not love you? Does he not love you enough to get you the really big bundle from T.S. Luthor? How dare he not get you that already? So definitely pressure him into that. I will, cause want. And I will sign everything, Victoria, okay? Everything will have a signature on me. I'm going to sign the back of it twice, just for you. So definitely pressure him into that. That helps keep the lights on, for sure. I'm so sorry to your boyfriend. I'm going to get so many hate comments on this. And I'm going to know who it's from. And when I see, like, the Alaska IP address... I have to fix the beard. It's getting messed up. How's everybody doing today, though? Anybody interested in going to the comic book shop to buy other things? Today, I've talked to a couple local comic book shops. They're starting to get some of the things from Image that they weren't getting from Diamond, so that's cool. Did you see my question, by the way? Oh, I might not have. I'm so sorry. Let me go up. What, can you put it again, just in case I missed it? I want to get some more Dark Horse stuff too. If you want to get Dark Horse stuff, the Victories from Dark Horse, big inspiration for Hellion and Bash. Michael Avon Oming wrote it, drew it, love it. He's got a new book over there called Newbury as well. Love that book. Famously, I wanted my wife to plug my book. I sent her a text message going, hey, what was the best thing you read this month? Hoping she'd say Hellion and Bash, because Hellion and Bash issue 1 just came out, and she sent back Newbury. So highly recommend that book. It's basically Redwall meets Hellboy, and great. Oming is a mutual of mine and a big hero of mine in the industry. Great dude, great books. But Dark Horse also just has amazing books across the board. Dark Horse is one of my favorite publishers, period. But definitely check those out. It's hard to go wrong there. Plus, they have some of the best manga. They're the main manga distributor in the U.S. and one of the first comic book companies to actually jump in there. Send again. Where did you ask the question, Victoria? Am I missing it? Is it like in the different comments? Is it somewhere else? It might be getting filtered. Ezra System just got Hellion and Bash #1. Alex, thank you so much. Go check out Lucky 33 Comics and tell them that you want a book from T.S. Luther on Lucky 33 Comics. Tell them that they need to start publishing T.S. Luther comics. But not today, because they were very nice and backed Hellion and Bash #2. Yeah, we're different, Victoria. They don't need to tell me. Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Alex. I need all of the pressure on you. What I need to do is I need to find the other online handles for the other Lucky 33 guys and start pressuring them and see if they can get the job done. What did you think of Hellion and Bash #1, Alex? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Is that why you're not going to publish the face? Because you're like, oh, God, no, this dude sucks. What was I thinking? Online handles. I know. You're the main Lucky 33 guy. You're the only one I can bother. But you're the only one I need to bother because you're the best. And I appreciate you checking out all of my comic books and even giving me a chance to send you scripts because you guys are awesome. And my daughter is not a fan of mine, but she's a fan of Lucky 33 Comics. My wife won't read my stuff, but she loves Dark Horse Comics and reads Newbury. So the fact that you're giving me the time of day, maybe my family will start reading my comic books if they pop up on Lucky 33. I think it's so funny how Hellion and Bash is like if TS wrote the Luminaries. Don't put it like that. It's so much darker. I like writing fun stuff too. Alex, are you going to any cons coming up? We got some questions in the chat. People want to know where you're going. Also, tell me where you're going so I can go there too. It's dark, that's what I'm saying. Hellion and Bash specifically, again, it's about protecting the children, right? Like it has that heavier undertone. Like, should we have sidekicks? Whereas with like the Luminaries, like you said, obviously much lighter tone. I love it. It's about the fun of it. But there still is that question of like, did she enjoy being Bubble Pop? Why did she stop being a sidekick? You still ask those same questions, so it totally is on that same vibe. Top of the morning, Tomonomicon. How you doing? Victoria, you got filtered again, dude. It does not want us to know what you're asking. The powers that be will not let you ask this question. But I think, like, they're like, Alex, on the note of, like, oh, this is, like, my version of that. We all have that same... Like, we love superhero comics, and we want to tell stories in those worlds, but we don't have access to Marvel or DC. We can't write those. So I think that there's a lot of the same through lines of us having the same questions because we grew up with the same comic books. I talk about it a lot. Like, a big part of Hellion and Bash is that legacy, passing of the mantle of different heroes to become that hero again, which you just don't get the same these days in Marvel or in DC because they keep resetting status quo. And you don't get heavier hitting stories sometimes because... they don't want people to not be a fan of a certain character, so you won't see heel turns the same way. I don't think we'll ever get a Parallax again, right? We won't get Hal Jordan turning evil. We won't have Barry Allen dying and handing off to Wally West. We don't get that stuff as much because they need to maintain that status quo. Whereas with indie comics, we can ask all of those questions. We can do a lot of that interesting stuff because people don't care as much about our books, right? Just to be honest, and people don't have 50 years of baggage to carry around with our characters. Yeah, that's what I mean. Nailed it. Thank you, man. I appreciate you comparing them because, again, there's a lot of fans of New Luminaries, including people in my house. So the comparison is already a giant compliment. Dude, I'm not even doing anything bad. Just back. Can't wait for issue #2. Thank you so much, Tomonomicon. You're the best. I gotta refresh it and see what we're sitting at. I genuinely can't tell what about it is getting filtered. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wanna get your... Can I send you my concept for feedback? That was getting filtered? Of course you can. I will say, so you can message me your concept. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to help you. If it's just a concept... I'm sure it's a good idea. There's lots of good ideas. Even if it's a bad idea, the execution might be outstanding, and that's really what matters. It's all about the execution and what you do with that idea. I get a lot of people saying, oh, I have this idea that no one's ever had before. And I'm like, that's cool. That doesn't really mean anything. You can have an idea that everyone's had before, but the way that you do it might be 10 times better than anything other people have done. So I don't know how much I can give you feedback on just your concept, except for, hey, I like this and I'd like to read it. Or hey, I don't want to read this, But I will still gladly do that. I would happily check it out. But I just want you to know that it's really in your execution of that idea that matters. I just love advice on how to move forward with it, and yeah, that was what was getting filtered. Yeah, I'll definitely give you some advice on what to move forward. But you know what I'm gonna say already. I'm just gonna say finish the dang thing. You're drawing it, you're writing it, just keep going. I would say, like, if I could give you anything right now just to help before I even see it, is keep it short and sweet. Do a single issue. Do 22 pages if you are gonna aim higher. If you're not just gonna do like a short of like 4 or 5 pages. If you need to do something like complete and like full size, keep it to a single issue story at first. Just prove to yourself that you can finish it and get it out there, and then move on from there. 10 backers. Oh, I gotta check it out. Just backed physical library. Great deal. Chris X, thank you so much. That means a ton. You're the best. Thank you so much, everybody, for backing it and checking it out. We are sitting at 10 backers, $352 out of a $3,000 goal with 31 days to go for Hellion and Bash number 2. You're all the best. Thank you. Like, seriously, that means a ton. We're already almost to what we earned on the first issue, which is crazy. I love that advice. Thank you. Well, happy to help, and I hope you get there. If I could steer you towards anything like that, be right back. I have to go back to work. I'm sorry. Ezra System, thank you so much for stopping by. Please hop back in if you get the chance. I love chatting with you, dude. But yeah, if I can, no, back to the comic. Oh, all right, you get back to the other work, the good kind of work. And that is comic books. But Vittoria, if I can talk you out of anything, I would say do something short first. See if you can do like a 1-page or a 2-pager story and build up that momentum. See if you can just get that one thing finished, and then it'll give you something to show off. It'll show proof of concept for doing stuff. You can show it off to your friends, and you can just hold the thing and say, hey, I did this. And for me, that always keeps it going. Sometimes the act of writing is hard, but having written something and having it finished and being able to hold it is a great motivator for getting stuff done. So I do recommend keeping it short, simple, and just finishing something can really help push that momentum. Because once you finish a 2-page story, then a 4-page story doesn't seem so scary. Once you finish a 4 or 5-page story, then a full issue, that's not that bad. It's a little bit longer, but it's not that bad. Okay, we're back and back. Oh, thank you so much, Alex. You're the best, dude. We're just going to keep going in a circle with this, but thank you so much, man. We're sitting at 11 backers with $414 out of a $3,000 goal. Heck yeah. Thank you so much. No Kickstarter. I'm not going to answer this survey at this moment. Holding a finished project in your hands is a mighty feeling indeed. It really is. Honestly, it's partly what got me so hooked. So I had finished a little comic book called Growing Up. It was my first comic book I ever published. It was an anthology. And 2 things happened that were both extremely scary. Number 1, I realized how awesome it was, how good it felt to finish a project. And I was like, oh, I was like automatically addicted to getting pages that I wrote, having art finished, and seeing that somebody could help me bring it to life. That part was amazing, and I had to do it again. But the second part, having it published, holding it, was going, oh no, I really want this. And realizing it's all I ever wanted as a career. And because I really wanted it, that meant that I didn't want to fail. And if I failed at my current job when I was working a boring office job, that didn't matter because I didn't care about it. I wanted to get paid and I had to feed my family, so that part mattered. But personally, I didn't care if I did a good job. I didn't like the job. I didn't enjoy that crappy office job. But the second I made a comic book and I could hold it in my hand, I realized that I did want it. And I wanted it so bad. And I had never wanted anything career-wise as bad or since. And I didn't understand it. I had never felt that need before. And it becomes really scary because I don't want to fail, because I want to do this forever. But it helped me carry that momentum into creating the next issue and the next issue. And now I have 2 publishers I'm working with, 3 ongoing series, and I can't look back. There's just no way. So I will say that if you enjoy it, it gets scary and it gets addicting, And creating art is the coolest job there is, just hands down. You know, in art class in college, I actually did a comic panel as a final project. That's rad. I love that. We did a little manga series in my high school in my art class, and that was also like the first time I had ever like experienced creating comic book stuff, and it was really really cool. Go easy on your art side for sure. Yeah, like don't pressure yourself too much, but you're gonna create something cool because it's gonna come from the heart. And I know that sounds lame, but it really is the truth. Like you're creating your artistic truth, and art is subjective. You can create something that people are like, that is ugly, and somebody else is gonna pick it up and go, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And that's one of the magical parts about art. If you made it, if a human made that artistic endeavor, it's gonna be someone's favorite thing, and it's gonna be someone's least favorite thing, and both are true, and that's the coolest part of it. It really is, man. Thank you so much for backing so far, guys. This is amazing. I appreciate all of your help. We're sitting at 12 backers, $452 out of a $3,000 goal. We have 31 days to go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle sitting through this for 31 days. This is too exciting. I am going to run the ad here in a second. So if you guys want to stick around to watch that for a second, I'm going to get some coffee going. But I wanted to run the ad from the beginning. Um, so I'm going to transition to that for a second. Oh man, Kickstarter anxiety is so crazy. Dude, it really is. You just sit here when I have monies I'll back to. Victoria, you're the best, but don't back it. Have your boyfriend back it. We talked about this. Have him get you the coolest Valentine's gift he can, which is the super bundle. uh, just remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Exactly. And there's going to be a lull. People are going to stop backing, and for a while in the middle there. And then people are going to start getting excited again at the end. And it is real. I've now done it a few times, and I got to watch it happen, and you got to get used to it. But it happens every time. All right, let's see if I can... All right, so I'm going to get the ad ready. The more dialogue, the less art needed. That's fair. It's totally true. That's something, if I can give you a tip as you're trying to like develop your panels and whatnot. Um, Everything that you want more focus on, make bigger. Let that take up bigger real estate. Hold that high. You can control so much more about the pace of a comic book than you can with prose. If you want the moment to really sing, make it a splash page, make it a page turn. You can control all of that when it comes to comics that you can't with prose. And if you have a lot of dialogue, make sure you leave a lot of open space on the page. And luckiest cat burglar, Bash. Bash. Under the cover of a kaiju attack, the world's greatest and luckiest cat burglar, Bash, accidentally uncovers the secret identity of the superhero detective known as the Gargoyle. As our lovable rogue follows the discovery down the rabbit hole, more sinister secrets are unearthed, and our titular thief is joined by the world's greatest sidekick, Hellion, and the pair find themselves on the run from both superheroes and villains alike. Written by T.S. Luther, drawn by Marcus Pedro, lettered by Fishley and Mike Stock, and published by Professional Entropy, Hellion and Bash is an ongoing series that asks and answers the question, who protects a sidekick from a superhero? With your help, we can continue the series that was launched and fully funded in under an hour. Click the button and get notified when the campaign goes live. On Kickstarter. Let's talk about Hellion and Bash. Under the cover of a kaiju attack, the world's greatest and luckiest cat burglar, Bash. Alright, what'd I miss? Gotta sleep, I'll see you around, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate all of you. Victoria, have a great one. What is Zapcon? Please somebody fill me in. I am using OBS combined with Restream. So OBS has everything running locally on my computer, so I can have my ad running. I can have that little picture there on the side, me over here, the overlay, and then I run it through Restream, which allows it to send to my YouTube and my TikTok at the same time. If you pay for Restream, you can send it to multiple places, like even more. So I can send it to Instagram at the same time as Twitch, and you can send it to multiple places. For free, you can send it to 2 locations. So I'm sending it to TikTok and my YouTube. But OBS is really easy to use. You can set up your scene, build everything relatively simply. And Restream, really easy. You just link all of your profiles together, grant permission to go to both places, and then bam, you're doing it. And again, also free if you're just in 2 locations. It's a convention thrown by a comic shop in Wayne, New Jersey. Sounds rad. I want to get to the East Coast again. I don't travel very much, and I don't go many places, and I would love to go check something like that out. When, where, and what is ZapCon? See, but yeah, I'm so excited now. Like, I'm going to go to my first con here next weekend. I'm not tabling. I'm just walking around, and I get probably not technically the first. I went to some when I was younger, but first as like an adult, really. And I'm starting to get really excited about doing it, and so I want to do more. And I'm a little bit worried I'm going to get way into going to all the cons, and it's going to take up too much of my time, money, and effort. But it seems really cool, and people seem to have so much fun, and they get to network and meet so many other creators and people who are into the same thing. That's something that I've loved about TikTok, is meeting people who like comic books as much as me, who like toys and video games and all the stuff that I care about. And I know that that's a lot of what those conventions are for, so I'm so excited for stuff like that. And the problem is a lot of my IRL friends, my friends that I see in real life, or I always hated IRL. Like, this isn't real. This is totally real. And I have so many mutual friends on here that are my friends, but in the meat space, who also don't leave. Like, they're also dads and parents and have careers, and they don't go places and do things. So they don't go to cons. So I'm excited to meet more people who want to get out there and meet more people. Why do they plaster their logo in a corner when you're using the free plan? No, they don't. You don't see a logo here? This is all free. OBS is also free. OBS is open source and free. It has lots of cool plugins. So I linked up my TikTok to Restream, which linked to OBS, and there's a little button that I click on, and it shows me the chat right here, so I don't have to have TikTok up on my phone like I used to. Again, all free. It's all super simple and easy to do. Highly recommend it. And it's made things really, really simple. I'm trying to grow like my community over on YouTube just in case something happens here, obviously. But it's been super helpful getting that all set up, because I want to be in multiple places and I want people to be able to watch it wherever. And TikTok saves your live, but doesn't automatically post it. Whereas with YouTube, it's like my live is right there, already filed away for video on demand, and it makes it really simple to put it wherever afterwards. And like, there's a really easy plugin too that as you go, you can just, if you pay for more with the free, like I said, you can go to 2 channels, but I can toggle them on or off whenever I want, and it starts a video for you. You type in the title so it knows what it's going to be, and you just click live or not live for each one. So if I wanted to cut content because I'm going to use music that would get me banned on YouTube, right, because it's copyrighted, I could turn off my YouTube part of the stream, run that part, and then go back. So highly recommend Restream and OBS. And like I said, with a little bit of finagling, pretty easy to use in tandem. And if your computer's powerful enough, you can do all of the cool editing stuff that you need with OBS that you would see on any other like live network, which is really cool. Like, you can make all these graphics, have them loaded in, and you can have them pop up all fancy, like animate them in. These were animated in before. There you go. And if anybody else has any other questions on Hellion and Bash, issue number 1 or 2, creating your own comic books, writing your own comics, finding a publisher for those comics, anything like that, I'd love to help out. I'd love to answer any questions you have. If you haven't checked it out, the link is in the bio to Hellion and Bash issue number 2 live on Kickstarter right now. If you haven't read issue 1, that's okay, because you can pick up both on the Kickstarter right now and do a full catch-up. If you like superheroes, like Invincible or The Victories, this is a story for you. It's basically who protects the sidekick from their superhero. When the superheroes don't step up, the supervillains have to instead, and they have to go on the run from the entire superhero community. And that's what the book's about. The first one is basically a heist in the shadow of a kaiju attack. When the superheroes are busy protecting the city from a kaiju, that lets the super thief Bash go out and rob the city blind, and what he finds there sets a whole thing in motion that sets him on the run. And I love creating comic books. I've written several, but writing superhero comics is like coming home. It's obviously the biggest part of the medium, right? And it's been so cool to be able to create my own superhero world. And thank you so much to Professional Entropy. If you're watching, that's the publisher for issue 2 onward, and they've given me the chance to create my own ongoing comic. And as long as people are reading it, they're going to keep printing it. And that's really, really cool. And it's a special opportunity that not everybody gets. And I want to thank everybody for allowing me to do that, because every copy that you've picked up so far, have talked about picking up, have handed to a friend, that's allowed me to get the attention of a publisher, so I can keep making this comic book, because it's hard to do on my own. T.S., did you produce the promo video entirely? I did. That's my voice that you heard on the video. I can play it again if you want. I cut it together. I edited it mostly in CapCut. So that's why, like, you've probably seen that paper animation before in other people's videos, because it's on CapCut Pro. But I did, with all the footage from the panels from issue 1 and issue 2 a little bit. There's a few issue 2 panels in there, but it's mostly the first few pages of issue 1. But I cut that together. I love doing editing. It's like one of the hobbies for me. I love cutting together trailers and promos and stuff. Fun fact, I was one of the first people to be live on YouTube on the Fail Toys channel. Oh, that's so cool! Is that your channel, or is that somebody else's? I gotta check that out. I remember when you couldn't go live on YouTube, right? Like, when it wasn't a thing, and now it's just so normal. Yeah, I totally did, Chris. I also did the trailer for Tokyo Fire #1, which I had a lot of fun doing, because when I was getting ready to launch Tokyo Fire, we didn't do that one on Kickstarter. We did that one on Zoop. We had everything ready to go, and the dudes over at Zoop were like, "Hey, this would do a lot better if you cut together a promo." And I'd never done anything like that, and I was like, "Sure, I'll give it a shot." And I cut it together back then on Adobe Premiere, I believe I was using, and it was a lot of fun. And so I thought I'd do the same thing for issue 2. I didn't do it for issue 1, and it didn't sell as well. So I wanted to do that for issue 2. Plus, the publisher was like, "Hey, we'll get you a pro subscription to whatever editing thing you want if you're going to do this." And so I did. I took them up on that. No, I was drawing a musician hosted by the channel owner. Oh, okay. I gotta check that out. What was the musician you were drawing? You met on Google Plus. Oh man, remember Google Plus? Is that still a thing in any capacity? That was exciting for like 36 hours. People talking about Google Plus. I had a Google Plus account. It reminded me of Zune. Like, Zune popped off there for a minute, and Google Plus was a lot like that for me. I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool for a solid, week. Chris, also, were you asking because you think it looks like crap, or were you asking because you like how it looks? I would like to know personally. And I won't take offense if it's because it looks bad. I did do it myself, so you're not going to hurt anyone else's feelings, I promise. That's where I got my current handle, plus Cliff. Oh, that makes sense. Listen, we're getting the lore. It's there, I think. Not really used, though. Yeah, I haven't heard it in a long time. The musician was Daria Musk. I have not heard of Daria Musk. What kind of music do they do? I'm always on the hunt for new music, so that's why it piqued my interest. Also, if you're in the Midwest, look outside. There is a blizzard happening actively right now. as I have like a whiteout condition outside of my window. Only in the Midwest is weather not small talk. It's big talk, but that everybody experiences. I was on a podcast last night. Shout out to the K-pop junkie to plug my new book and to talk about hot dogs. And we talked about weather for way longer than you would think. And it's not because of small talk. It's because there was a blizzard again happening last night, and we had to talk about it because neither one of us could see outside of our windows. What kind of music does Daria Must do? I gotta check that out. Never mind. Even the site for Google Plus is gone. Yeah, there you go. They never last, right? Like sometimes they'll come back in a weird form. Like I think of like MySpace now. It's mostly for music. Kind of folksy. I think she got popular streaming her concerts. Kind of pioneered it. Oh, that's cool. I never heard of that. I was such a late bloomer when it came to the internet because I grew up in the middle of the woods of northern Michigan, and I didn't have the internet until I was 16 is when I had internet at home. And then I was living in a van, so it didn't matter. We had like internet at the school library or whatever, but for the most part, unless you were rich, you didn't have broadband up there. A lot of people had dial up at certain points. I never did. But I was such a late to the party when it came to the internet. Yes, please send me the link, Cliff. I'd love to check it out. Also, I gotta see more of your artwork. I've obviously seen your book, but I would like to see more of it because who knows? Maybe we need to make something cool together. Because I know you work fast, and I'm always looking for new collaborators. But I think it would be awesome to work together on something. How's it going, everybody who just joined? My name's T.S. and I write comics. If you can't tell there, if you can't read. And my new book, Hellion and Bash, #2, is live on Kickstarter right now. Links in the bio. If you like superhero comics, go check it out. Let me know what you think. The trailer's running right now for the series as a whole. It's an ongoing series that's being published by Professional Entropy. So if you like books like Invincible or The Victories, you should check it out. The second cup of coffee is kicking in, so I have the energy to keep going. And now I have to answer all of the questions in the YouTube chat that I was ignoring, and I'm so sorry. Thank you for watching it on YouTube. I appreciate you. Also, if anybody has any questions about making your own comic books, writing comic books, finding a publisher, publishing it yourself, we have publishers in the chat right now. They can answer questions. I can answer questions about trying to find said publishers. I would love to help out any way that I can. I've been creating comic books now for going on 5 years, and I just now started to get traction, and I would love to pass that along to you if that can help in any way. I'm not a big name. I don't work with Marvel or DC or anything like that, but I am getting to work with a lot of cool smaller publishers, and I would love to pass on anything that I can and kind of give back. I'm getting messages from my publishers right now. Professional Entropy was kicked out of TikTok for PC and unable to comment, so they sent me a message saying, consider this your official notice to once again walk into the deep dark Michigan forest to sign a lambskin scroll in your own blood. That's how we signed the contract. Shout out to Professional Entropy, the publishers of Hellion and Bash in Tokyo Fire. I will warn you, if you go live on Kickstarter, if you launch a project there, you do get hit up by lots of cool fans, and you can meet new creators. You also get hit up by the strangest, most specific spam possible. There are so many people looking to make a buck off you if you're launching on Kickstarter who will promise you the world. I don't know if any of it works. I've never utilized any of it. I've only ever heard bad things about a lot of those things. But I got like 17 emails. I've been live for an hour and a half. 17 emails from people who make money off people who are making money on Kickstarter. So I will warn you about the spam right now. It's real. Ty, are you laughing at me? How dare you? Or are you laughing at Professional Entropy? Uh, those dudes are funny. Professional Entropy, really awesome flagship. I'm their flagship creator, but they're a brand new publisher. They just started out. We're their first book, like I said, and they've been really cool. Helped me get Hellion and Bash #2 off the ground. They're going to be doing Tokyo Fire later on in the year. That's like a limited series that I'm doing over there. And definitely check them out. They have a website, professionalentropy.com. They're hilarious. And also, like, their motto is why make money when you can make comic books. Our whole model is a break-even model, so there's not a lot of money to be made. It's about making sure they can fund the books so they can make the next book, basically. So it's not like a huge for-profit chain. That's probably partially because there's not a lot of money to be made in comic books. But they've been really honest and really helpful and just really cool, and they just want to make cool comic books. And that's not something that you see a lot. Part of the deal when I signed with them was I gave them some of the rights to Hellion and Bash, and they gave me some of the rights to Professional Entropy. So it's more like a co-op, and that's been really cool as well to get equity in a comic book company as they start out. And I can't recommend them enough. I don't think that they have a storefront up yet because, you know, Hellion and Bash #2 is their first project, but definitely go check them out, show them some love. They're here on TikTok. I love working with them, and I love being a part of the company now, like as like a part owner. It's really cool, and I never thought I'd get that opportunity, and that's because people backed Hellion and Bash #1 so much, and people talked about Tokyo Fire, and all of you awesome followers on TikTok, on YouTube, that got the attention of them and made it seem like I was a good investment, and I can't thank you enough, because it's hard out there to get publishing in comic books. There's a lot of really stiff competition, and a lot of really cool people making comics, and to be a part of that club is really neat. Oh, I'm just starting out as well. Cool. Yeah, like it's really cool to see people entering that ring. It's a little bit scary in comic books right now, with Diamond kind of leaving, with them in bankruptcy. There's not a lot of distribution to be had. When it comes to small publishers, which means getting into stores is difficult. That's the main thing that you want, is distribution, so you can get your books out there and in front of more people. And with Diamond leaving, that leaves a really big gap. So right now it's hard to be a small publisher. But the people who do it are brave and important, and they make it possible for little indie guys like myself to start to work our way up that ladder so we can get noticed by larger companies. And you couldn't do that without smaller publishers. And Image isn't going to give me a shot, right? Marvel or DC doesn't care who I am, doesn't know who I am. They have bigger names that they can focus on who are super talented, and so I don't begrudge them of that, but I still want to make it in the industry, and you couldn't do that without small publishers. And the fact that they gave me a chance means everything. And people like Invader Comics, love the dudes over there. Mike Perkins, shout out, great guy. They find new creators and are willing to give them a chance, and you wouldn't have as many new ideas in comic books if it wasn't for smaller publishers. That being said, if a big publisher wants to give me a shot, I'm definitely there. That's one of the things we are looking at, the other distribution people, because we really want. It's hard right now. I would say that you're going to have a hard time finding distribution with Diamond kind of going out. Even Diamond is not the easiest to get into, but it was easier than, say, like Lunar, Penguin, Scholastic, something like that, right? So you kind of had to focus on Diamond, and Diamond was willing to take a shot on smaller publishers. With them gone, a lot of those publishers aren't going to do that. So while you're probably not going to find distribution there, what you can do is reach out to LCSs, your local comic book shops, and do direct distribution, direct marketing. Ask them to order a few copies, send them free samples, talk to them, form a relationship, start building that trust so that they do want to order comic books from you or your books, whatever have you, because they're going to start to shift their business model as well, because a lot of them depended on Diamond to get all sorts of stuff, and that's going away. So, like, if you don't know, most comic book shops got their toys, their statues from Diamond. with Diamond going away, I've talked to a lot of local comic book shops who are just like, we're just not going to carry toys anymore. We're not going to carry statues because nobody else distributes them, and there's no point in us trying to find a distributor just for that when we can buy our comic books, our toys, our statues all at one time. So their business models are going to be changing. I've talked to local comic book shops who are willing to reach out not just like small publishers, but to self-publishers, like people buying copies directly from me because they're excited to, and they can't from Diamond anymore. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. The worst that they can say is no, or really the worst that they can say is nothing, and that still definitely happens. But a lot of them are really kind, tell you exactly what they need, and they're usually honest. Even the shops that have told me no are like, listen, it's because it's not worth it, because we can only buy 4 copies from you, and after shipping, it's like there's no point. We're not going to sell those 4 copies probably. We're too small. People come here just to buy Spider-Man, and that's it. But the shops that have responded have been really helpful. Shout out to Spooky Lake Comics, one of my favorite comic book shops. There are comic book shops who are willing to do business with you directly, and especially as they're preparing to move away from Diamond. So don't be afraid to contact them and try it out. Couldn't find that vid, but stumbled upon so many interviews and streams I was a part of. That's so cool! Back in my influencer days before that was really a thing. Man, I was on podcasts for a long time earlier in the decade, and I enjoyed it very much, but I enjoy making comic books way more. And if you ever see me not on TikTok, if I'm not posting a lot of videos, it's not because it's not a good time or whatever. It's because my main thing isn't being an influencer, it's making comic books. And I gotta make the comic books to have stuff to talk about, right? I gotta go make the donuts before I can sell them. And so if you ever see me not posting, it's not because I hate it or I'm done. It's just because I gotta go make comic books. Yeah, we were making a spreadsheet of VA shops that we did bookstores for our books. Yeah, totally, exactly. That's just how it goes. Make those lists, build those relationships, keep track of them, and don't be afraid to be honest and be like, hey, I don't have a book right now. I'm going to have a book then. Are you interested in talking about it? Start building up that hype if you can. Send previews, send early copies. Don't be stingy about that. Don't be worried about spoiling stuff. Send them everything, because obviously they're fans, but they want to know what they can do, and they'll be honest and tell you if they can sell that book. I've had a lot of shops telling me that they like the comic book, but they couldn't sell it. They just don't have a market for it, which it stings sometimes, but it's really helpful, and it helps me not have to push that product in a market that I know it's not going to sell in. So just build those relationships. It's super important. And it helps in sales, like being able to sell pre-saves of like Hellion and Bash, like pre-orders at shops, helped issue 2 get made. But I have also been laughed out of shops. I will tell you, I've had way more support and success emailing shops. There's a few local ones here in Michigan. I won't name names, but they were like not fans of doing indie stuff. They just didn't have enough room in the shop or overhead, just no interest. And they weren't like completely rude, but they also were not fans of supporting any indie stuff. So you're going to get that sometimes, but you're also going to get really cool shops who order 15, 20 copies and do it consistently and love supporting and watching new creators make new stuff, which is also really cool. So you can't have one without the other. Or hey, how's it going? And like, never underestimate the groundswell of having fans go in there. Anybody who's backed this, anybody who's interested in more stuff, T.S. Luther or Professional Entropy, tell your local comic book shops about us. That's where a lot of people reach out to me and get orders from comic book shops, is because somebody came in asking about the book. And comic book shops are really good about following up on that stuff. They will look in their catalogs, they will find people online because they want to sell what you want to buy. So if you want to see my stuff in shops, if you're a fan, tell your local comic book shop about me. They're really diligent about reaching out. Comic book shops need the sales, they need to stay relevant, and they like finding new stuff. They're fans first and foremost. I know it doesn't sound right, but nobody makes a comic book shop hoping to make $1 million, because it's not realistic. It's not a business that booms in that way. So a lot of them love the medium, love all the different genres, and love to support new creators, and will look out and find people. So if you see a comic book creator on here or on Kickstarter that you dig, tell your comic book shop about them, and you might see them pop up there. That's we look at like Mad Cave and all the success they're having right now. They originally weren't in a lot of comic book shops, but people asked for it enough, and now they're getting huge, right? They're the next IDW or the next Boom, because so many people were like, "Hey, I want to buy Mad Cave stuff here," and now they can. Cosmic Times, Martin, what's going on, dude? How you doing? Your Kickstarter just wrapped up. How'd it go? Braxton, how you doing today? I gotta do a live check of Hellion and Bash issue number 2. We are at 13 backers, $468 out of a $3,000 goal. Thank you so much for all your support. You guys rock. We are already almost at what issue 1 earned in total. So this is so cool. Thank you so much. Mad Cave is fueled by investor money and licensed properties. It's true. Most publishers are, though, right? Like that's just kind of the case across the board. You look at Dynamite, IDW, even Aftershock, right? Like that's how it goes. Some of those licenses are cool. They just got was it a Gotchamon? They just got a couple of new books. I saw Mad Cave advertising, but they also do some really cool smaller creator books, like new superhero stuff. They do some interesting things. Same thing with Invader, right? Invader has some really cool licensed stuff next to weird indie stuff like me. Like they just did like the Onyx the Fortuitous book. They did Darla from Josh Rubin, the director of Hard Eyes. Like I love that the publishers. It's like you have to pay the bills. You gotta balance this stuff. You gotta capitalize on nostalgia. So you'll see something from Dynamite that has 45 covers next to something weird and new. I appreciate that about all of those, because you gotta keep the lights on. You gotta sell stuff that will sell, but a lot of them take chances. It's something that I've always appreciated about Dark Horse. Dark Horse will consider people like me. They will take me out of the slush pile. They will consider me, and then they keep the lights on by selling stuff like Berserk and Predator and all their licensed stuff. And I think it's cool. I bankroll Cosmic Times from comic sales and extra funds I make from PalmCon, 2 shows around Florida. That's really awesome, dude. I keep my Can't Be Killed Creations label on with a hope and a prayer, and now I'm starting to work with other publishers who help get the lights on. Like The Digger, I paid for out of my pocket with the creator Sam Gudelin, or co-creator Sam Gudelin. Like we made it all on spec. And then we licensed it to Invader, and they are helping pay for the printing, basically. And then we're splitting the proceeds. Professional Entropy helped pay for the artwork on Hellion and Bash number 2, so Marcus could get to work as soon as issue 1 was completed. And then we're helping pay for the printing with the Kickstarter. So, like, it works in different ways, right? The key is to keep a positive attitude, something you have. Thanks, man. I try to. You have to, right? I could get down in the dumps from people who don't respond to my emails, or publishers saying no, and like the rejection aspect of it. But it's not going to help anybody. It's not going to, help me keep doing this. It's not going to help keep the lights on. You got to stay positive. The only way to rise above the competition, if you were, is to not give up, right? So you just have to. And the only way to get a gatekeeper to let you make comic books is to make comic books yourself, right? My dream isn't to make comic books and to hold it in my hand. My dream is to make comic books forever. And that means building up my platform and my resume so I can work with bigger publishers. And so far, it's worked, right? I made an indie comic book so I could get artists involved. When I got artists involved, I was able to get the attention of fans and self-publish a book. I was able to self-publish enough books to get the attentions of small publishers. And hopefully I can get enough attention from small publishers that I can get the attention of a larger one, right? It's all a numbers game. And I appreciate everyone who's taken a chance on me so far. It means a ton. Oh, just back my project. Thank you so much, Cosmic Times. That means a ton, man. Thank you. And definitely go check out Cosmic Times. They got some amazing books. They just wrapped up their last Kickstarter. I backed that one as well. You should go check out their stuff. It's awesome. And thank you so much for giving back and backing Hellion and Bash number 2. It means a ton, dude. And that's a big way that you can grow as well, is reaching out to other comic book creators who are uh, at your level or doing better than you. Cosmic Times has been at this a lot longer than I have, and I've learned a lot from watching them and Mr. Fish and Lucky 33 Comics and Bad Ink and a lot of people who were on TikTok before me and doing their own thing. And it's they've paved the way for me to do stuff like Hellion and Bash. No, you rock. When are we gonna hang out and talk, dude? When are we gonna get this meetup going so we can dish, and you can tell me which Comic Cons I should or should not be going to, and which publishers I should be pitching to. Also, I heard that you were opening up an office. When am I gonna get a story in Cosmic Times? When is that gonna happen? When am I gonna be able to pitch you a backup on something? Give me 2 pages. I can rock 2 pages, Martin. All right, I can kill it. I love Bad Ink. I've hung out with them a few times at cons. They're so cool. I have not hung out with them. I've gone back and forth with Lydia a few times on TikTok, but like I don't know them personally. Too big for my britches, I think. Much more successful than I am. But they seem very, very nice, and I've learned a lot from watching their videos and all of their marketing, and from my friends who are closer with them. So I definitely still credit them, even though I don't know them like that. But they seem really cool. Alien Tilo, how's it going, dude? You make it? What's up? I know I've been going lives at different times. I haven't been able to catch you. So many different time zones, and so many people going like, "Hey, can you show up at this time, or can you go live then?" I'm like, I'm trying to reach it. So many text messages and so many things going on today. Everyone's off school. If not for the holiday, for the weather, people are off work. People messaging me about this, about the project. It's really cool, but also so many different messages going on. Very cool people. I met them at Garden State Comic Festival several years ago. I need to make it out east. I need to go check out more. Do you want to pitch something or drop a script on one of our pre-existing titles? Both, Cosmic Times. I don't sleep. I got both ready to go, man. I would love to do that. Um, let's talk offline. I'll DM you. Let's see what we can work out, because I want to write for everybody who will let me write for them. I love the stuff that you guys are putting out, and I love writing in general. I have so many books too that are already completed. Like that's one of my secrets when people see like all the different projects I do, is I have so many completed comic books that are just waiting. They're just on shelves. They're pitched to publishers, and then if the publishers say no, they're going to go to Kickstarter. Or I have publishers who have said yes, and we're saving it to see if they want the next thing. But I would love to pitch you some stuff on both. I can't stress this enough. I love this job. I love writing comic books. It's the only thing I've ever been told I'm good at, and I'm going to ride that as long as I can. It's literally the coolest job that you can have, at least to me. I know other people like other stuff, but like I've had the boring office jobs. I've been in bands and toured a little bit. I've done everything in between, and comic books is the coolest thing ever, and I love doing it. So I would gladly pitch you both, either stuff for your existing stories, some backups, some just whole hog books that I have just sitting around. I have a lot. What kind of music? I was in punk bands and ska bands a lot in the 2000s. I've done some indie rock stuff, some folk music. But like, if you know how to play a few instruments and or sing, you kind of just you play whatever is available. I grew up in northern Michigan, so we obviously had like a really cool like punk and ska scene, but we also had like a big country music scene and folk scene. So we played a lot of bars, stuff like that. Hitting Comic Cons all over the U.S. is a lot like touring with a band. It really is. That's the cool thing is I've seen is like I didn't travel a ton. When I toured, it was like I toured around Michigan, right? I have a few friends in bands who have toured like around the whole U.S. And when they start talking about it, and as I've looked more into cons, there's so much like overlap there, which is really cool because I do miss that a little bit. Music wise, I would say we were mid at best for all the stuff that we did, especially me myself. I got to play with some really talented people, but I was just fine. But like going around places and being surrounded by people who like the same stuff as you is so special. And I see people doing that with cons. I'm like, I really want to get back to that. The problem is just I'm not a big travel guy. I have my kids at home. I'm a full time dad, and I love being around them more than seeing other people. So I don't want to miss out on that. But it is a big part of the job is having to go to more Comic Cons, and I'm trying, but. Ever listened to Blank 77? I haven't. I will gladly check them out. Is that some music that you've done or music that you know of? Because that will influence what I say about them. But I'm sorry, I'm getting some good recommendations from people. Oh, a good New Jersey punk scene. Hell yeah. I don't travel much either. The thing is like there's diminishing returns, right? Like you can network, you can meet a lot of fans, you can meet a lot of other creators and build up your fan base, but also your friends in the industry by traveling. But it's costly, right? It costs a lot of money to travel. Also, the safety of it is in question these days. My daughter, last kid, is about to go off to college, so I'll be hitting the road soon. Oh, dip. Listen, Martin, if you want to come to Michigan, I'm going to be at those cons. We can hang out. I know it's a little bit of a drive for you, but you can take I-75 like all the way there, right? So definitely come and check out. My kids are still young yet. I have one that's 7, one that's 8, and I don't want to miss out on a lot of that stuff, and I don't want to necessarily take them everywhere to all those cons, but. Hit the road, come up and visit. I'm doing my first con next week. I'm not tabling, I'm just gonna visiting, but Great Lakes Comic Con. It's my friend's band, Punk. They tour across the country. Heck yeah! I'll definitely check them out. I love punk music. The vibe from hitting cons helps fuel my creative juices. Oh, that's really, really cool. That's not something I really thought of. I've never done too much of like the networking like that to build up any sort of inspiration from it. Maybe I'll get some really cool stories out of hitting the con this week. I mean, like as a writer, you kind of get inspired from everywhere. When people are like, "Oh, where do your ideas come from?" I don't know, like everywhere, all the time, everywhere, everything, all at once. So maybe I'll come up with some cool ideas coming out of there. A lot of my ideas come from the artists that I work with because usually I find an artist first and then I pitch them projects based on their art style, what I think that they would like, what they've told me they want to draw next. I was just pitching some projects to Ellie, the marker artist here on TikTok. Love her, amazing artist, great stuff. And we went back and forth for a while coming up with a project that she would want to draw because we're going to make a comic book together. And I didn't have everything ready before. I just went in and said, hey, what do you want to draw? And that inspired me to come up with some pitches for her. If you want a network, come to Heroes Con. I can do that. I don't know if I want to go to, it's in Florida, right? I don't know if I want to go to Florida, but I do want to go to more cons. So again, it's just 75, right? You just go south. Mine are 25, 23, 20, 18, 15, 11, almost 5. Holy crap, Cliff. You are prolific. How do you have time to do anything? That's so many children. Well, I guess a lot of them are grown now, but still, that's crazy. I got 2, and I can't sleep. I got to get off the live soon to go hang out with them. Bug Boy, how you doing? I was just reading some stuff from Bug Boy. I bred myself out of the studio. Exactly. Like there's no way. I have a 2-bedroom apartment. My kids share a room, and there's no way to have anything other than space for the kids. They have toys, and they have like beds, and they have more toys. Tyrannus the goat. How are you this morning? How are y'all this morning in the chat? How's it going, everybody? I'm doing a live. I'm doing as best as I can. Hellion and Bash #2 is live on Kickstarter right now. If you want to go check that out, the link's in the bio. Go back it. Tell a friend to go back it. But it's going. How's everybody else doing today? That's exactly what I was saying, Ty. When you started listing numbers, I'm like, are those your lotto numbers or are those your kids? Because that's crazy. 7 kids. I can't afford the 2 that I have. How do you have 7? Drawing a bunch of me because I'm insane. Exactly. It's nuts, man. it's funny. I'm advertising Hellion and Bash issue number 2. I just turned in the script for issue number 3, but I gotta write Tokyo Fire number 3. As issue 2 is being drawn as I talk about this, and Invader is publishing The Digger. I just turned in issue 2 and 3 to the artist. And I have a bunch of pitch packets. Now I'm going to pitch some stuff to Cosmic Times and bother them about publishing some stuff. So I have tons more stuff to write. Either you don't own a TV or you need to get off Netflix. All right, everybody, I've been at this for 2 hours. I need to go hang out with my kids. I have a lot of work to do. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you have any last-minute questions about writing comics, publishing comics, creating your own, anything like that, please hit me with them now or hit me with them later. Go and check out Hellion and Bash number 2 live on Kickstarter. Link is in the bio. If you haven't read issue number 1, that's okay. You can catch up right there. You can read both on the Kickstarter. You can get both of them and catch up. If you like superhero books like Invincible or The Victories, this is the book for you, okay? Who protects the sidekick from the superhero? When the superheroes ignore this child's plight, the supervillains have to step up and save this kid. And that's what it's all about. The first issue is all about the shadow of a kaiju attack when the world's best super thief robs the city blind and he uncovers all sorts of sinister secrets. So, go and check that out. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell that weird guy at your shop. Go check out Hellion and Bash. Cliff took Netflix and chill as a challenge. So true. Several predate Netflix. There's no way. Afterlight Comics, how's it going? Go check out Afterlight Comics. So, any other questions, comments, concerns, anything that you want to know about Hellion and Bash before I go and write more comic books? And is anybody interested in checking it out? Anybody who hasn't backed yet? Anybody who's interested in backing? Can I convince you? Can I convince you not to back? Is there anything I can tell you? Afterlight, when can I write something for you? I know I've pitched you stuff in the past, very, very lightly when I first got on TikTok, a long, long time ago. But I know you make all your own comic books. But I would love to bother more people about writing more comics, because I love it. And I now have a publisher for several different books, like Hellion and Bash, Tokyo Fire, and The Digger coming later on from Invader Comics. Oh. All right, we are over the 2-hour mark. I gotta go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and checking out the live, checking out Hellion and Bash issue number 2. Again, please tell a friend. I'm gonna be, hawking this thing live for the next, I don't know, month. We got 31 days to go. We're at $484 out of a $3,000 goal with 14 backers. Thank you so much to everyone who's backed so far. Thank you to everyone who's going to back in the future. You guys all rock. I'm going to go hang out with my kids. Thanks again. I'll talk to everybody later.